The agency disclosure form for the buyer looks exactly like the agency disclosure form for the seller. However, this one obviously is specific to when you are representing the buyer versus when you are representing the seller. So, much like the agency disclosure form for the seller, the name of the buyers and the property address will be filled out at the top. And also, like the agency disclosure form for the seller, you cannot fill this out until you are making an offer on a property. So, if you're in a buyer consultation, this is not an agency form that you will be going over yet because you haven't identified the property you're going to purchase yet. So, much like the seller form, if you have two real estate companies involved, so us as Keller Williams Louisville East and literally any other office or company out there, even Keller Williams Highlands, Keller Williams Elite, Keller Williams Realty Consultants, everything that is outside of the four walls of Keller Williams Louisville East is falling under the two different brokerage categories. So you would fill out your name, Katie Messenger, and it is pre-populated to include Keller Williams and Brad Long right here. Buyer signs at the bottom, and you are done with this form. In the event we are making an offer on a property that is listed by a Keller Williams East agent that is not yourself, so for example, if I'm making an offer on a property that Steve Schuff has listed, we will select the dual agency box. It is always dual agency. We are not a designated agency brokerage, so this whole section right here doesn't apply. So we would select dual agency, and I will write Steve Schuff and Katie Messenger. Order does not matter. And if either one of us has a personal relationship with any of the people involved, we would disclose that right here. So if I'm representing my sister as a buyer, I need to disclose that because Keller Williams is a dual agency brokerage. Then the buyers would sign down here at the bottom. If you are the only agent involved in a variation of circumstances, then we would skip Roman numeral 1 and Roman numeral 2, and we would drop down to Roman numeral 3, where you are the only real estate agent involved. So you would fill in your name right here and indicate how you are representing the parties. So if you're going to be a dual agent for both sides of the transaction, you would fill out this section right here, and please, 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 please indicate if you have any sort of special relationship with either the buyer or the seller of the property. Because again, dual agency means you have to represent both sides equally. So if you have a familial or business relationship with either of the parties, it could be argued that you can't represent the parties equally, since it would be impossible to represent somebody who is not your sister better than your sister, for instance. So disclose how you, if you have a personal relationship with any party right here. If you are the buyer agent and you are the only agent involved and only representing one side of the transaction, you would come down here. So for instance, if you are buying a FSBO, you would only be representing the buyer, not representing the seller. If you are in a situation where you represent the seller and a buyer walks in, for instance, and you want to represent the seller in here, then you would click that button right there. And if, again, you're a transaction broker, then you would select neither, which we don't do. So more often than not, if you're using this paragraph, is because you are either on both sides or you are buying a FSBO, and you would check this box right here. So in every one of these instances, whether it's box 1, 2, or 3, the buyer would sign down here at the bottom.